Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Man, We're Too Old for This, here on the Nerd Eternal Network. I'm your host, the experience that some call Jason, and with me today is...
The token millennial, Tarky.
CDO-113, the droid you're looking for.
And the blurred dawn of the veil, the top father.
Today we're going to be talking about comic book stories that hit us in the feels. So, the guys may get really emotional. I won't, because I'm a man, but... Alright, so who wants to start us off?
Yes, I'll start us off.
Alright, get us in touch with your feelings, Danny.
The story that I've read in the past couple of years that just kind of hit me in the feels was Deadpool number 20. It's where he prevents a young girl from committing suicide. And it's not just that he walks her off the ledge and convinces her not to do it. He kind of tricks her into going on an adventure with him. He's like, look, don't do it, but hey, if I can't convince you not to, at least have one good, shebang before you do it. And it starts out, he catches her on whatever building she's on, and he's like, no, if you're gonna jump, do it from the Parker building. Basically he wants, Spider-Man's, alias Peter Parker to, catch the grief from, the bad press. But he tricks her into going, he takes her to Hamilton with stolen tickets. He takes her on a joyride on a stolen motorcycle. All the things he's doing is to show her what she's missing out in life, like the chances that she gets to do this, helping somebody, or, seeing a great show.
Didn't they beat up some Hydra agents or something?
He beats up some Hydra agents. It's just one of those roller coaster rides for her. Things that most folks don't get to say. I did that. And she gets to do a bunch of it in one night. Kind of like a bucket list kind of thing. And then at the end, he had promised, well, if you decide, I'll take you back here. Well, he drops her off at a hospital instead. And she's mad at him, like, you promised. And he said, hey, I did promise, but I want you to go inside and stay the night here. I'll tell the people know, hey, if she's, wants to leave, let her leave in the morning. But I want you to think about, before you do it. And even in the book, they post the hotline number, the suicide prevention hotline number in the book. And I'll go ahead and give that out. It's 1-800-273-8255. And they leave it with, he's got some closure, and hopefully she got the closure she needed and got help. But it was just one of those stories that kind of hit me. Like, I had a friend that committed suicide when he was young, and I think if he had had somebody to talk him down from the decision he was making, he would still be alive today. And so anytime I see, whether it be on a movie or a TV show or in a book where somebody talks somebody down, it, kind of hits me in the feels.
Oh, that's understandable. All right, Taylor.
Last one that caught me like off guard, but in a good way, was probably a story in Superman. Oddly enough, because normally Superman is kind of just written flat out. He's good, other thing is bad, move on with life.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, Shazam had done something. He had made a mistake. He had went after someone who had shot a classmate of Billy Batson. And like basically Shazam had done everything wrong. Just jumped the gun, got people, put people in danger, and Superman's sitting there, berating him for it. And Shazam starts crying. He's like, what's wrong? Like, obviously there's more to this. What's happening? And then Shazam turns back into Billy Batson and explains, he was my friend. I didn't mean for him to get hurt. And then Superman it stops for a minute. It just completely stops. She goes, who did this to you? Like, who gave him the powers of Shazam? And it's Superman running in and then berating the wizard that gave Billy Batson powers. How dare you put this responsibility on a child this young? and forces on him. And it was just a good moment of me watching, Superman thought he was, putting responsibility on the right shoulders, berating the person that needed to be berating, and then it's this, oh no, this is literally a child. This responsibility should never have been forced upon them.
Yeah, I have not read the entire story. I have seen the pages of that scene.
Yeah, it's just that scene in itself was kind of just a pop for me.
Yeah, I haven't read that either, but I've seen art clips of it, and yeah, that looked like a good story that made you stop and think.
Well, clearly, since we're seeing, me and Danny having not seen the actual issue, but we've seen that part, so apparently that one obviously got a lot of people. And thus they were talking about it online and putting the pictures up. I can't remember was that a mini series or a one shot? Because it seems like in the regular run of the book, Superman would have already known he was Billy Batson. Because I don't think the story is that.
It kind of depends on which universe.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at the age, because let's face it, New 52 Superman's probably not giving anybody a lecture on responsibility.
No.
And hell, even let's be honest, even back in Billy Batson's JSA days, they didn't realize he was Billy Batson.
Yeah, they didn't catch that until him and
Until
Stargirl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when him and Stargirl started kind of hooking up on the side that they were like, you do realize she's a minor, and he had to fess up to
No, he quit.
Oh, he quit.
Yeah,
Okay.
quit.
The wisdom of Solomon was telling him, you probably don't need to tell them. Because it was Jay that pulled him aside. She's a teenager and you're, what, 30? But,
not even in his body.
Because they had gotten pulled into, I think it was the Shade, the shadow plane that the Shade gets his powers from, I think. And Billy had gotten depowered while he was in there. So Stargirl, saw him. But anyway, Todd.
All right, mine is Uncanny XMen 390. It is a death that has since been retconned the hell out of, for years now. But when Colossus basically sacrificed his life to cure the legacy virus, that one only got me because it was one of those rare times that they didn't telegraph what the hell was going to be in the book by months. So I just picked, I just got my monthly issue of X-Men and I'm sitting there reading it and it's like legacy virus cured on the front of it, and then you read it, and Colossus basically dies doing it. That one got me because it was one that it was that rare kind of unexpected, where now character deaths, hell, they're going to die sometimes a year before, hey, they're going to kill Wolverine sometimes, and you just kind of waiting for them to do it. But yeah, that was one that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You got you just reading your normal book and it's do. Holy shit, they killed Colossus. And at the time, Ilyana was dead, his parents were dead. So he didn't really have a whole hell of a lot to kind of live for.
Yeah, him and Kitty were broke up.
Yeah, and it was one of those kind of things where it was like he had a chance to do something, and he was like, but the big thing was his sister.
Yeah.
Because, Ilyana died of the legacy virus, in her, second, third death?
Yeah, she's had
some. And yeah, that had been a driving thing for the character ever since she had died. He had joined the Acolytes and all kinds of crap after that. But yeah, you had the cure to it, but the trick was it had to be injected into a mutant to be released, and the power release would kill whoever took it. So while Beast was trying to kind of figure out how can we do this without killing somebody, Colossus just went, psh, whatever, fill it for Ilyana, and killed himself.
Yeah.
For those that were not reading the X-Men back then, the legacy virus was their corollary to AIDS. It was AIDS in all but name.
Yeah, it was what was it? A sickness that attacked their ability to control their powers or something like that.
Yeah. But the way when you would see people that had it, it was AIDS, because the trick was at that time mutants could get the legacy virus, but they were immune to the AIDS virus. That was a little tick in there.
Is that the one that when Blob got it, he became just skinny, but all the folds?
Nah,
Oh.
that was after Scarlet Witch basically said no more mutants.
Okay.
No. Ilyana died of the legacy virus. The character Maverick had the legacy virus. Pyro died of the legacy virus. Yeah, you had quite a few like named mutants get it and die. Because it was actually unleashed by Strife. Because he had promised Sinister the Summer's DNA, and it was supposedly in this container. When Sinister's helper opened the container, there was nothing in it. And then the assistant starts coughing and bleeding out of his nose. Yeah, it was Strife unleashed that on mutant kind, and yeah, that was how they cured it. Now, since then, despite the fact that Colossus was even cremated in the next issue, they brought him back. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell they brought him back from that shit.
Aliens showed up with him or something. It was really dumb.
Yeah, it was basically that alien that was running around had like taken his body, but it was like, well, okay, if they took his body, who in the hell did Kitty cremate and spread over the farm that he grew up on? Because that's literally a whole issue of X-Men.
Mother Russia gave birth back to him.
No, like I said, they tell you how he came back. Just how he came back made no sense.
Yeah.
Ilyana is back. She's been back. Like I said, it was a deep issue. It was not a lasting issue because, all the deaths that went, oh, that's in the fields. Yeah, they ain't like. But yeah, though Hickman's run of House of X does explain something. Because during the whole legacy virus thing, Moira McTaggart was the only human to ever contract the legacy virus.
That would make sense.
And then Hickman has basically come on and said, oh yeah, she's mutant. Her power is just really subtle and truthfully kind of suck.
Yeah. You get to live your life.
Did he specifically bring that up as one of the explanations? Or did he just start writing, it just happens to line up nicely?
Yeah, they had no. I'm pretty sure they had no intent to make that on purpose. Yeah, it just fit. Because, like I said, hell, Moira was dead. Hell, in that original run before too long, but she didn't die of a legacy virus. I want to say she died when they blew up Muir Island or something like that.
Yeah, I can remember during that legacy stuff, you had a X-Men annual where you had the X-Men run across this kid with electrical powers, and he's got the legacy virus, and it's just kind of all about, kind of him dealing with both of these things that he's just discovered.
Yeah.
And then it was a few years later they did one of the mini reboots of the New Warriors that kid popped. He was a teenager, I guess, when he popped up originally, and then maybe college age. That he popped up as Bolt on that version of the New Warriors. Him and there was a black kid named Aegis, and that's the only characters I can remember off that team.
Yeah,
the
reboot. I have no earthly. I can't remember what in the hell happened to that character, but I remember kind of liking him. It was like, oh, he's kind of neat, and he's somewhere in Black Character Limbo.
Yeah, I think he may have popped up in one of the books Amadeus Cho was in when they were dealing with the Greek gods, because it was the actual Aegis he was wearing.
Yeah. Because didn't it basically make him invulnerable or some shit like that?
Yeah. There's like a breastplate with like Medusa's head on the front of it or something.
Yep. Anyway, That's the one time, I cared, and Marvel thanked me for caring by erasing all of it.
They don't like you.
Well, even when
Well, I
you
get that.
cared, you knew they were going to bring Colossus back eventually. He's just too
I
popular a
think
character
Uncle
to leave
Ben's
it.
the only original character still dead, ain't he?
Do what now?
Yeah, it used to be Uncle Ben and Bucky were the rules.
And Captain Marvel.
No, it was Uncle Ben and Bucky. That was the saying. Only two people don't come back from the dead, and that's Uncle Ben and Bucky. And they brought Bucky back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now it's just Uncle Ben.
You could add Marvel to that list because
They finagle Marvel too much. Up until then, Uncle Ben and Bucky just flat out did not come back. Period.
Yeah.
I've read a few stories where Ben's running around.
The only time I've seen Ben come back that wasn't some alternate universe or some shit was a Deadpool thing where he walked in on Uncle Ben and Aunt May screwing, and I think they were both supposed to be dead at the time.
Yeah, somebody was cloning him. He ends that issue. He ends that story with a bunch of Gwen Stacy clones.
But yeah, Cap Marvel, they play around with him. Well, he's back in this. Well, we go back in time and he's back. Oh, look, he's back. Look, he's back. Oh, he's back, but he's a Skrull. He tends to pop up when you don't have a Captain Marvel book because they don't have a Captain Marvel book because they need a Marvel. They need a Captain Marvel to keep the rights to the name.
Yeah. I have a random issue of Silver Surfer. That Surfer's trapped in a land of the dead, and Marvel's there. Makes no sense in the story because everybody else in that world, it's people he led Galactus to. It's like this. It's like this. Realm of the dead that populated only by people that Galactus devoured that he led them to. So and then Captain Marvel's there.
Why are you here? Copyright.
That was truthfully why they slapped that name on Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the reason why Carol's Captain Marvel right now. Is because you didn't have a Captain Marvel. Because the bug guy was gone.
That was Marvel Boy. Oh wait, no,
Yep.
Dark Avengers. That's right. They did change his name to Dark Avengers.
Yeah, Dark Avengers. He was Captain Marvel. Yeah, they have to keep a character with Captain Marvel in print somewhere. Keep the name.
Yeah, otherwise I think DC claims.
Yeah, they get it back.
Well, otherwise it goes up for grabs, and whoever gets it gets it. Because Stan had been sitting around waiting on that name to come to free up. Because I think DC had bought the rights but hadn't done anything with it.
But that's why Billy Batson is stuck as Shazam.
Mm-hmm.
Which I won't say his last run. They just went on flat out and said, "Okay, fuck it, his name's Shazam."
That was New 52.
Yeah.
Prior to that, they could still call him Captain Marvel in the book because the characters from the 40s. But they couldn't title a book Captain Marvel, which is why, like in the 90s, early 2000s, his book was The Power of Shazam.
Yep. And now you have Shazam.
Wait, what?
Shazam?
Black Adam? Yeah. That's what he calls himself now. Shazam. Shazam.
Why?
Because DC wants to go out of business.
Because comic books don't just hate me. That's why.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that came out like as a joke. Everybody was like, "Oh, that's a joke." It's not real. No, that was in their Infinite Frontiers book where, you read that part of basically Black Adam running around as a good guy. Yeah, that's what he called himself. Shazam. I don't know if it's pronounced Shazam, which probably is, but Shazam at least sounds neat as an exclamation. Shazam! That's neat.
All right, Jason, how about you?
Well, I'm having trouble thinking of one that's like a deep emotional, kind of touching moment, like, Colossus sacrificing himself in the memory of his sister sort of thing, or even the Superman one.
Jason's an uncaring bastard. That's the problem.
It's
You
possible.
have
It's
no
possible. Now, as far as one that got an emotional response out of me, that I still kind of think back on every now and then.
You want
it
to talk about
it wasn't
the
the sec. What?
Are you about to talk about the Annihilus wave?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and talk about the Annihilus wave.
So, in the miniseries Annihilation, which was going on the same year as Civil War, so, it doesn't get talked about as much as Civil War, despite being a far superior story. It was a storyline it took place out in space. It involved a bunch of Marvel's, kind of second, third tier space characters. Of course, they killed my favorite one off early on. But Nova was kind of the main hero, if there was a main hero. But you got to see Ronin the Accuser, but, as a good guy, because he's defending his people. The Super Skrull, but as a good guy, because the Annihilation Wave was taking his people out. It was kind of everybody versus Annihilus and his army from the Negative Zone. Lots of ups and downs. They whack quite a few characters. It's you kind of got this kind of last stand vibe to it. And you've had Nova and Ronin the Accuser. They've been interacting a lot. They've been working together. Things are bad enough that even Ronin and the Super Skrull are working together. And that's, there's a long-standing hate there. But you've got a scene when everybody's kind of splitting off to go kind of handle the last fight, Nova and a couple of folks are going after Annihilus personally. I think Ronin was going to lead one of the navies. And as they're departing, you've got Ronin kind of, stoically, arms crossed behind his back, staring out the window. Nova gives him the nice little bit of information and is leaving. And Ronin, it's like watching him in the reflection, and he stops him and basically tells him, Richard Rider, if you were Kree, I would call you brother. And for some reason, that little scene I thought was just so damn neat. Because these little, it drove home for me how much this story was making me care about these no-name characters. I mean, Ronin gets slapped around by everybody.
Yep.
And it stuck with me enough that, man, I was pissed in Guardians of the Galaxy the way they did Ronin. Ugh. I said that whole movie. Oh, what's this black crap just leaking out of his mouth all the time?
Yeah, they screwed that character all the way up.
But that scene basically made me a Ronin fan. I have liked the guy since then. Not that he has stayed a good guy. It's still kind of off and on, but
you were right though. They ran at the same time as Civil War, and Civil War got all the attention, but Annihilation was so damn much better.
Yeah, it was just a good story. So many of the characters got little kick-ass scenes like that. That was probably my favorite. But Galactus, when he's first freed, is also kind of a big one with me.
Wasn't they using Galactus as like
a weapon?
A weapon?
And a gun.
They had him as a hood ornament on kind of like the lead ship.
Yep.
And they were using his planet-eating ability to destroy worlds with it. But the way they had it set up is, he would draw the energy out of the world. But Thanos had set up a thing where it was just going through him and into batteries. So he was literally feeding all the time and starving to death. They were letting him have just enough energy not to die. Because that was what was neat about Annihilation, is you had 4 books in front of it. They had lost the war in the prelude. So when you get to the actual Annihilation book, Annihilus is kicking the shit out of. I mean, that whole storyline, they were always right just on the precipice of losing. And it was to the point, and that was with like heralds on their side.
Hell, they had all the living heralds of Galactus were fighting for him.
Yeah. But you'd had Thanos team up with Annihilus. Really, just see what would happen. You had that period where Thanos was kind of like a good guy. Yeah, and he got bored. So, and Death had kind of come to him and was like, "Hey, you need to, You need to get involved.
Was that the one where he sees Death as the little girl?
Yep. It was creeping him the hell out.
And in Annihilation, he was still seeing her that way.
Yep.
Because Moondragon has just convinced him to go ahead and let Galactus out. He's fiddling with the controllers, and he looks across on a walkway, and that little girl Death is just, got this gleeful look on her face, just staring at him. And he's like, oh, this isn't good. Which is when Drax came up behind him and ran a hand up through his chest.
His heart out.
Pardon?
Yeah, she punches through him, punches his heart out. He hit him from behind, but he rips his heart out. His hand has got Thanos' heart coming out of his chest.
But they did that to Galactus because Super Skrull and his group of basically like rebels in the negative zone had destroyed Annihilus' big weapon destroying, or his planet destroying weapon.
Yeah.
So Galactus was their replacement. And when he gets loose, he is pissed. Because that's when he reinstates the Silver Surfer as his herald.
Yep.
And tells him to go forth and herald my rage. And he erupts like one of them seismic bombs out of, Star Wars. And basically takes out most of Annihilus' fleet.
Yep.
Because they don't get him loose until the very end.
Jason and I were both disappointed that when the Marvel Universe toy came out, Galactus that talked, we were both pissed off that Herald My Rage wasn't one of the things that it said.
Yeah, because that's been one of Galactus' coolest.
That was one of the coolest fucking things Galactus has done in God knows how long. Because he is not a happy camper with that motherfucker. It's loose.
Oh, I imagine not. I'm hungry and it's an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Well, it's really just kind of a big explosion because it's Surfer zipping past in front of a pressure wave, basically, where he just detonates.
And I think you see all of Annihilus' little ships exploding as the wave hits them. It is a really neat scene. Like
I said, Annihilation was a book that I don't think Marvel is capable of making now. I don't think they have the talent to do that. To take that many C and D list characters and make that damn good of a story, I don't think. Hell, I don't think
it's the feeling of desperation through most of it.
Yep. That
I think gets you. And the fact that it's B and C list characters, so they could absolutely kill anybody.
Considering that they off Quasar that early, they let you know real early that we take out your favorite and not give a shit.
That kind of feel also when the first Crisis on Infinite Earths, when they were killing off the different multiverse, bringing it all down into one. When some of those characters get killed, some of them you kind of see coming, and others it's like, oh, I did not expect that, or the reaction of other characters that when they witness those deaths, that was, to me, that kind of reminds me of that.
I was young enough when Crisis came through that I wasn't overly aware of it. So I was grown and already knew what had happened by the time I actually read the thing.
Yeah. They tried to replicate Annihilation, at least twice?
Yeah, something like that.
But none of them have been as good as the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. So, that wasn't like a teary-eyed hit me in the feels, but that got an emotional response out of it.
An emotional response is an emotional response. Everybody kind of went teary-eyed, but you could just as easily go on, hell, this is what I hated. This is what I really, really liked. It's still an emotional response.
Yeah.
Hey, I read that. I thought it was kick-ass. So that was yours. Where everybody else was like, dank and depressive. That part with the baby died? Yeah.
Well, crap, what I think to say. Well, before we wrap up, anybody got any honorable mentions they'd like to throw out?
All of my honorable mentions are not comic based, or are all manga based.
Oh, okay. Well, I was
Yeah,
prepared to let you
I
use manga in this, but you went comic, so or Western comic, so I'm proud.
still enjoy going back and reading a couple of things with Thor. I still enjoy Thor's Ultron. We would have words with the at the end of Ultron Unlimited. That storyline.
Mm-hmm. Now that's the
And
storyline where Sokovia was
where
already
he killed
destroyed by that point.
Sokovia or some shit like that, where he killed everybody.
Did he kill everybody, or was there a supernatural something involved?
No, he killed Ultron. Wiped out the country, and then after the country was wiped out, you had the Black Knights, Ebony Blade, Blood Wraith showed up there and basically took out anything that was left.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember what order those happened.
Scarlet Witch ended up basically binding him to that land where he couldn't leave. But yeah, Ultron was the one. That was that story. It was Ultron took a Eastern European country and made it his vision. He basically sealed it off, put his troops out, and basically killed his way inward and had turned the people into like necro cyborgs and all kinds of shit.
And rebuilt every previous version of himself.
Yep. But I enjoyed that scene, and then I enjoyed the entirety of that Thor during Civil War, where Thor finally shows up, beats the living shit out of Iron Man.
I'm talking about Thor. This would be a Thor villain. One of my favorite, moments that he's like, oh, now that was a nice way for a character to go out was when the Executioner, I think it's during one of the Ragnaroks, basically he's on the bridge and he holds the bridge against all these undead forces while everybody else retreats, and
it's the end of the Surtur saga.
Yeah,
it's when they go. It's when Thor and Heryar and Scourge and Balder basically go into hell to get the souls that Hela had, the human souls that Hela had, because she had allied herself with Malekith the Accursed and everybody that ate the food of fairy. It killed the soul, but the body was a slave. But yeah, the souls went to hell instead of Hel instead of heaven or hell.
Yeah.
And it was them basically freeing those souls.
Yeah, that the scene where he's the last one holding the bridge because he knew he was dying. He's like, I'm holding the bridge.
No,
Yep.
He wasn't dying. He held the bridge because the Enchantress had broke up with him. The Enchantress had started messing around with Heimdall. And that was the whole thing with Scourge. He was her love slave. Well, when he tried to break it up, she had even rooted him to the ground like a tree and stuff. He was heartbroken. That's why he asked Thor to go on that, because it was a suicide mission. It was going into hell. Nobody expected to come back from that. And he made Thor a promise. He said, if you let me go, you won't regret it. But the trick was, it was because he was heartbroken.
Okay.
And he went there, and Hela had made a fool out of him. She'd had one of her minions look like the Enchantress and go, oh, I told Heimdall that my heart was yours, and he killed me in a rage, and he's all pissed off and shit like that. Yeah, and it was a trick to try and turn him. And when he realizes that it's a trick, he gets so mad that he takes his axe and throws it at Naglfar, which was the ship that Hela had that was made from the thumbnails of dead men. That it had taken a millennia to build it. He destroyed it. And she had lost a fight to Thor, but when he does that, she basically tells her troops, get him. And he holds the bridge at Galabru. He basically takes 2 M16s. Because Thor was going to do it. He knocks Thor out from behind and tells Balder, ask him for his forgiveness for me striking him, unmanly, basically. And he tells Balder that all his life, people had laughed at him. And every time they laughed at him, he died a little bit on the inside. So basically, get out of there, and the last laugh will be Scourge's. And he asked them to drink a drink for him in the mead halls and laugh that laugh with him. And he stands there on the bridge with them 2 M16s and goes, hey, shit.
Yeah, I only read the last issue of that. I just caught it, like, oh, this.
I have that in several places because I enjoyed the hell out of that one.
Yeah, I think you helped me track those issues down for my dad one Christmas.
Scourge became my favorite character because I read that before I read anything else that ever had him in it.
See,
Yeah.
Scourge had been one of my dad's favorite villains, but then he'd never actually, he knew he had died, but he'd never actually had the issues where he died.
I was like, this Joker here is a badass. They tried to do that in the MCU and completely fucked it up.
Yeah, they just
They just made him a goof.
Yeah, let's not even. That's hitting me in the feels in all the wrong ways. So anyway, that's a few of the storylines and scenes that really kind of really got to us. If anybody listening out there's got a scene that they think deserves to be mentioned, put it in a comment below. Email it to us, and we'll read it in a future episode. You can reach us at thenerdeternal@gmail.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to it in podcast form, please leave a review. If you'd like to support what we do here, we have a shop at our site, nerdeternal.com. Anything you purchase just helps us better our equipment, hopefully put out a better product.
You can like, share, subscribe for free.
Yes. Like that and the reviews, that's a great way to help if you
Share
don't
to
like
your
t-shirts
friends,
or
share to your family, share to the people you can't stand.
But anyway, I've been your host today, the experience that some call Jason, and with me has been
Token problem, Tarky.
CDO113, the droid you're looking for, and I'm going to give that suicide prevention hotline one more time, 1-800-273-8255.
The blurred dawn of the veil, and also apparently the ray of sunshine, the Todd Father.
and we will see y'all next week.